hearty good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to all of you to the 4th Annual Economic Times Architecture and Design Summit 2016. Before we get started, I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank our partners for their valuable support. Our title partner, Somani Ceramics. The event is powered by Syska LED, Rapid Construction Partner, Everest Industries, Academic Partner, Pearl Academy, Media Partner, Pool Magazine, Better Interiors, Ideal Home, Architecture Update, Ghar 360. Associate Partner, FDCI, and Live Webcast Partner, Streaming Live. Ladies and gentlemen, this year the A&D Summit highlights the D factor of architecture, that's design. And as we are all aware, design is an important aspect of the architecture, and texture is that element that brings life to design. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, this year's theme is texture in a built environment. So to give a head start to this beautiful summit, I'd now like to invite on stage Mr. Deepak Lamba, the President of Times Conferences Limited, Bennett Coleman and Company Limited. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Deepak Lamba.
Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to the 4th edition of the Economic Times Architecture and Design Summit in association with Somani Ceramics, who I must say I'm very proud to say that they've been our value-creating partners in this initiative for all 4 editions so far. And I take this opportunity to thank Mr. Abhishek Somani and his team for sharing our vision and walking side by side with us throughout this 4-year journey. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening is waiting to get started by some interesting and insightful discussions and deliberations from topics that are vast and varied. Lastly, I'd like to thank all of you for taking time out from your busy schedules to be with us. It's a special thanks to all our speakers and delegates. It's because of your enthusiastic participation that we continue to make this event a success year after year. As we take this forward, we'll be glad to now open new chapters in new cities and travel to learn from the experiences of those cities and continue to enrich this program even further. With this, I'd like to open this evening and wish all of you a wonderful time. Thank you.
Well, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. There's definitely a lot to look forward to. And on that note, I'd now like to invite on stage Mr. Abhishek Somani, the Managing Director of Somani Ceramics, to deliver the welcome address.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Like Mr. Lamba said, this is the 4th edition, and the idea was mooted to bring about a little bit of knowledge platform, to create a knowledge platform, to bring in various industry practitioners under one roof, which is builders, architects, interiors, even the government and industry, such as ourselves, and what better media than Times Group to cover this. So that was the idea, and we've evolved over the last 4 years with different formats and different topics. So I hope this year also has had led to some brilliant ideas coming up from various cities. We typically went from one area of India to another. So we started off with the West 4 years ago, and then went to North and then South, and we're here again. Thank you very much once again for coming, and thank you for giving us an opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Somani. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, let's march ahead to also introduce our next speaker for the evening. So let's have a huge round of applause, and please help me welcome on stage Mr. Radhakrishnan Pillai, a celebrated author, motivation speaker and director, Chanakya Institute of Public Leadership, Department of Philosophy, University of Mumbai. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Radhakrishnan Pillai, one more time.
A warm good evening. You know, this whole concept that today we have is art and design go together. But many of us may be aware or may not be aware of the fact that philosophy and design goes together. I'm going to look at Chanakya's life as a design by itself. When we look at him, he's born in 4th century BC. But what is interesting is that we still look at him as a role model as far as thinking is concerned. Chanakya was a master psychologist and of course a great philosopher. When we're designing a town, a city, a company, a house, a residential complex, there is some philosophy that goes into it. And of course, there is a great psychology. Will the people, like it? And as designers, as architects, there is something called as the wow effect. And what is the wow effect? The moment you get in and said, wow, it clicked to me. You may have done the best of the things. But if that wow effect is not there, you have missed everything, right? So that's a psychological thing. Can we look at what the human element, the human mind wants that we want? And as they say, it's not about you. It's also about them. Even in marketing, they say, it's not whether your product is the best. It's whether those people consider your product the best. design thinking, the science of thinking has been perfected by Chanakya in his book Arthashastra, and that subject is called Anvikshiki. What does Chanakya say about design thinking? He says design thinking, while creating anything, is about 5 things. And if you get these 5 things, you have perfected the art. Okay, so it starts with the purpose. The means of starting undertaking. If you're starting a project, an assignment, the question is that why are you doing it? When you start any project, what's the objective? Okay, he's a management guru. Excellence of means and material, optimum utilization of your resources, time, people, etc. But I want to go one step further, and which is beyond what we think in management field. It is not just optimum utilization of your people and your team, it's also optimum utilization of other people and other teams for your purpose. Okay? Design thinking includes the right time and place. Release a movie, you should know, what is the movie, who is the clientele, when is the right time, if it's going to be Eid or Diwali, if it's going to be a film for children, you need to make it at the vacation time. So right time and right place. Okay? This includes provision against failure. Backup plan. Plan A, plan B, plan C. Chanakya goes up to plan XYZ also. No loopholes, think through. But finally, it's all about results. You started with an objective, you went through all that, but finally did you achieve your results? So if you can get these 5 elements together, we have got our design at the head, at the philosophical level right. And the good part is that design thinking, which I told 5 points, are not 5 points. They're actually one single sutra out of the 6,000 sutras. But I want to tell that there are many design elements, how to create an organization, how to create a kingdom. So in one sutra again, he says how the whole kingdom should be designed. It should have a king, the minister, you should have the citizens, you should have a good fortified city, treasury, army, ally, all these things put together. What are the elements you bring in together to create that perfect model? Finally, this is design thinking for me. I am not only a person who believes in writing books, but I believe packaging is also equally important, right? So if my books are done well, because I've spent a lot of time designing them, and once you get it right, I'm sure it's going to be a bestseller. So if you look at the first concept, it's like bringing Chanakya with the corporate elements, so you have the barcode and saying, next one is about the 7th thing, and the next one is Chanakya in you. I'm writing 18 books on Chanakya. And after writing those 18 books, I'm making sure that each of the design cover is better. Probably I'll learn something from you also. Thank you so much.
Brought to you by ETH.
You are on top of the world with Times Network. And you're watching ET Now.
Yatra.com presents great savings on flight tickets. Get flat rupees 1,000 off on all domestic flights and up to rupees 15,000 off on international flights. Hurry, book now on Yatra.com.
What did you do?
Only what she asked me to do.
Which was?
I'd be happy to show you if you like.
Brand new. Dollar Jones.
So bad. So bad. So bad.
If you stay fresh.
Brand new. My shoes brand new. Tattoo brand new. My shoes brand new. Attitude brand new. My girl brand new. Everything brand new. You see my chain up in the range. I am insane. I am the range.
I need you to be my wife.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Swag Nights, Monday to Friday night at 11. Only on Movies Now, too.
Project management is the bridge between strategic vision and successful outcomes. For India to achieve its vision, it will need tremendous capabilities in project management. Project Management Institute presents CXO Roundtable Series. Project Management, indispensable for Vision India, in association with the Economic Times.
Project management is that bridge which connects the vision to the outcomes. And therefore, that is the most crucial element if you want to get your desired outcomes.
A roundtable discussion decoding project management and how businesses can leverage it to deliver successful outcomes. Only on ET Now.
We now march ahead and let's get started with our next session as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have the presence of the founder of Federico Del Rosso Architects. Please put your hands together to welcome on stage Mr. Federico Del Rosso.
Thank you. Good evening. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer to invite me here. It's my first time in India, my first time to visit Mumbai. So thanks for everything. And so back to texture. First of all, I would like to say that texture is part of our life, our daily life. We are surrounded of things from nature, from building, from architecture, from texture in a way. So the texture is the envelope, is the skin of everything, is a thing of ourselves, starting from human. Human is our skin. And this structure of our skins is totally different from each other. So, any fingerprint is totally different in identify ourselves. And so identify a figure, a human that is different. So any architecture and any texture are associated, they create different building, different environment. So we have a human texture, the nature texture, that is the wooden one, is an example. So that is something that was made by God, probably. And then we have human plus nature, because the texture we are talking about on architecture, on product design and everything, is a combination between human and natural material. So that's is the fact who create the emotion. So we can create emotional texture where we combine our ability to build a certain texture, certain architecture, to get the perfect balance, the spiritual balance of what we design. Then we have the artificial texture. This is a paper, but could be anything, fabric, and we can apply to cover any kind of thing. So the built environment expresses its personality through materials and the texture in any case. This is an interesting picture. I got this summer in Greece. It was an interesting building. I was fascinated about this image because this expresses the value of texture on a building. Without a building, without a shape, any texture can't express their value. So in that case, it is like a deco building, maybe, express his decoration, his beauty by colors, by the balance of the whole building. But now he expressed also his loss. So the part he lost during the years, and it reveals what is behind. What is behind is very important because it was built without thinking of aesthetics. It was built just structurally, because they were expecting to receive another envelope, another skin to cover. But now that the structure is revealed, for me, is part of the global texture of the building. I would love to keep the building like as it is. That is another natural balance between what is on the surface and what is below the surface. That's all. Thank you.
And with that, we now march ahead to also introduce our next speaker for the evening. Please put your hands together to welcome on stage the one and only Mr. Wendell Rodrigues.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank the Economic Times for inviting me to speak here. When we were in design school, we went for this common class called The Purpose of Design. And they said, the Western society said it was about function first. So whether it was a building or a dress, it had to serve a function. Then if it had to have a status, in the sense that, who had the biggest feather, who had the biggest house, etc. And the last one was decoration, where they said you can decorate something as much as you want to. But when I came back to India, I realized that this was not true about the purpose of clothing, nor about etc. And the last one was decoration, where they said you can decorate something as much as you want to. But when I came back to India, I realized that this was not true about the purpose of clothing, nor about anything that we'd learned even in architecture. Through my great friend and close friend who I miss dearly, Charles Correa, he said, Wendell, we have this entire concept where we have to add to this narrative of the purpose of clothing or the purpose of architecture. So then he said, Wendell, like clothing, you think that you're wearing clothing because of a certain purpose, but in India we're wearing clothing for religious purposes. We are wrapping the lady in a certain religious way. We are talking about superstition, where you put a little black mark on the forehead, you put a bracelet that has got black beads, and you go through all these things, and also religion comes into the picture. So I'm going to go through the elements of architecture that relate to the elements of clothing. So this first one is about line, and if you look at all saris that are made of this style from tribal people, they always have to play with lines. Just like we play with lines with fashion, you play with lines with your architecture. The second thing is, what we're going to get into is color. We all know that color plays a big part, whether in interior design, architecture. The next slide is texture. Just as you guys create texture on walls, on the exterior buildings, we have to create texture in different means in my clothes. So for example, this was something I did because the opportunity came to me. There was this Professor Acharya who told Meher Castellino, the great journalist, saying, why don't we do these t-shirts with braille on them, because he was blind. I should say visually challenged, but he didn't mind the word blind. And he said, why don't we do these t-shirts and then we'll write A and we'll write the thing in braille. So chatting, I said, how do you dress and what is your daily dress routine? He said, oh, it is the worst thing of my day. So I said, Professor Acharya, why is it the worst thing of your day? He said, when I was young, I had sight. Now I lost my sight because of an illness, but I know I want to wear a grey shirt today with a grey pant, or I want to wear a blue shirt with a black pant. But he said, my wife has sight, so every time I have to take out one shirt and show her and ask her, is this white? She'll say, no, it's not white. Then take out another shirt. Then take out a third shirt. Then take out a fourth shirt. At the sixth shirt, he might have got lucky. By then his shirt cupboard was completely destroyed. Next he would take out the pant. Is this grey? Is this black? Is this whatever? Blue? Really, really terrible. We people who have eyes, we dress up in 10 minutes, we get confidence, we wear our jacket, we wear our kurta, we wear our dupatta, and out the door we go. In 10 minutes we are done. I said, let me try and put braille on the clothes. So, but it was not so easy. So I went to the Caritas University, Caritas who do a blind school in Goa. I said, give me the typewriter printout of your alphabet and your numbers. I go back to my studio. I tell the embroidery girls, you all will make one shirt with all this braille written on it near the pocket area. The buttons to match them, so that one buttonhole matches one button, whatever it is. We send it to Professor Acharya. I said, I'm going to call you in 3 days. So I call him in 3 days, and I said, Professor Acharya, can you read it? He said, yes, Mr. Rodrigues, I can read it. And he began to cry. I said, why are you crying? He said, because I can read it. And I said, tell me, what does it say? He says, it says the Wendell Rodrigues collection, Visionaire, size medium, color white, and I can match all my buttons and buttonholes. And that was the day that the story went worldwide. From Newsweek to Time, everybody collected the story. Today it is mandatory that every blind school or visually challenged school teaches their children how to put braille on clothes. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I close my presentation. Thank you.
You are on top of the world with Times Network. And you're watching ET Now.
Dil ko de lift, skin ko de bounce. Get nature's goodness in Fiyama shower gels and gel bars.
Ready to go again?
Moviegasm. Monday to Friday night at 9. I'm gonna save you your crazy math. It's 9 p.m. Only on Movies Now 2.
Our world is becoming more interconnected than ever, opening up new opportunities and vulnerabilities. But what if we could stop mishaps from happening? At Hitachi, we're co-creating stronger security solutions for the Internet of Things, so we can predict and prevent threats to our real and virtual worlds while moving social innovation forward. The future is open to suggestions. This is social innovation. Hitachi, inspire the next.
ET Now is the undisputed leader in English business news.
They're all a sea of red this morning.
This sell-off is the first real trust post-Brexit.
I don't think this is a reversal. I think it's only a correction.
Right now is a failure of a European bank.
Investors track every market move only on ET Now.
There's a confluence of good monsoon, confluence of reforms, maybe some additional kickers like 7th pay commission. All that will add to economy getting a leg up.
First with big policy breaks. First with news that shapes your world.
Both Airtel and Idea and even Vodafone have all committed to carrying out those bilateral negotiations to ensure that the quality of service is maintained and the consumer does not suffer.
And when India Inc. rides the wave of change, they trust only ET Now.
L&T Infotech, which now is about 470 million and will grow past 525 million this year.
Markets, business, politics, policy. Always first, always right. ET Now, the best in business.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we now get started with the panel discussion, the theme of the panel discussion is about the Ignite Talks. That's what we're calling it. Not just a panel discussion, we're calling it Ignite Talks, as the focus is on practicality versus unconventional designs.
Talk that we are going to, or the discussion that we are going to have now is not just on textures, but it is also about practicality and functionality and unconventional design. So what it means. So I'm going to be posing a series of questions at the panel here, and hoping that each one of our panelists would be able to address a few of these questions. My first set of questions is, what is practical design and what is unconventional design?
Christopher Alexander, he was a theorist, he said, unfunctionalities felt like discomfort. When you like something, you almost don't notice it. You use it every day. So, this is true for all traditional. Then when modernists tried to experiment more, because one could say the craftsman attitude is one which is slow. You have a slow innovation and you tend to do what your father did. The way you teach artisanat is just do this, do that, and so on. You don't separate goal from doing. I think modern design is born out of speeding up of the problems, new problems arise, and somehow you have more experimentation, and also there's a separation between the designer and the maker. In a craftsmanship, many times the designer is the maker. This creates a lot of innovation, but also a lot of problem of mismatches, one could say. In this sense, the separation between functionality and form is, we feel it more in modern objects, this dilemma. We don't feel it in traditional objects. In a way, it's more like, it's a dilemma, because today also the range of the market has differentiated very much. We expect on one way of objects to perform, to be the background of things. And on the other side, today design is always something that to do with, I would say, branding, denotation of something, all the way to get it to a pure image. So there is, I don't want to say a fight, but a dialectic. And this dialectic, I don't think, can be totally resolved. It's a question of expectations, also in the market. You can want the very objects just to stay in the background.
Unconventionality has to be opposite to practicality, or conventionality has to be opposite
no,
to...
definitely not. Why we say that unconventional design is not practical? Of course, any design, any architecture must work with the functions. It depends on the function of the building. Is it a public building or is it a residential building? But you have there to match with the functions. So we are not just designing because we woke up in the morning, we want to create like a pyramid and verse.
So would texture in that sense, would it have any kind of functionality? Would it be practical or would it be unconventional?
Text is the envelope of the architecture, as we said before.
But would it not have any kind of impact on the function itself?
I think no, because of course you have to think, if we talk about the glass facade, it's a texture, it's a glass, because a texture by the reflection of other architecture or by the different filter, different lighting. And I think when we use that kind of texture, we have to think about how to create the separation, how to create the protection.
Would you like to add something to that?
I think Mr. Rodriguez showed a very good example. Is a texture of touch and feel. And throughout the whole session today, we saw lots of visual textures, materiality textures, and the things that a lot of it does enrich the person's sort of like appreciation for aesthetics. And I feel that is, to a certain extent, the practicality of textures.
So aesthetics and texture can go hand in hand, but functionality as well has to go hand in hand. So if it is
we
practical...
always start with the layout, to lay out the building. So we start with the functions, and then we add the other...
So in that sense, when you talk about conventionality or unconventionality, where does tradition fit in?
The tradition is part of us because it belongs to our experience before, and we have to keep the part of the tradition in what we design. But we have to push the boundaries of design because it's our role. We have to try to experiment. We try to adapt the architecture to the society, to the globalization, to the growing, the change of the style of living. So we have to work to the future, look at to the future, but keeping something of the past. So our ability is to match it and keep it because it's part of our DNA. It's an architectural DNA. So we have to work.
Right now, I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Anand Shukla, the Marcom head of Cisca LED, to please come forward and present the closing remarks for this fantastic summit.
I would like to thank ET team for putting up such a nice evening, and we really look forward to get associated with such kind of summits in coming years as well. Thank you, ET. Thank you, everyone.
It's evolved over the last 3 years. I must say we began trying to create a platform where various industry practitioners would come together and share their thoughts, be it an architect, an architectural firm, a builder, the government and also industry. And over the years we've been able to attract more and more such people from various faculties. So very happy with how this has evolved and shaped.
I think it's a very interesting forum. It brings perspective from different disciplines, and it brings an understanding of different kinds of impact the texture is having on different people. And I think people need to understand and get to experience it in a different manner, open their eyes and look around. So it's a very interesting forum. And I think people need to understand and get to experience it in a different manner, open their eyes and look around. So it's a very interesting forum.
The 3D Experience Forum presented by Dassault Systems discussed India 4.0, bringing multiple Indias together. The panel featured Bernard Charles, President and CEO Dassault Systems, Narendra Taneja, leading energy expert and spokesperson BJP, Karuna Jain, Director NITI, Reggie Kumar Pillai, President of the India Smart Grid Forum, Rajiv Singh, Partner, Management Consulting at KPMG India. Moderated by Sunanda Jayaseelan, ET Now.
Thank you all very much for being here this afternoon to talk to us about India 4.0, bringing many Indias together. And I think it's such a relevant topic because India is embracing technology. India is moving forward at a pace that we haven't done previously. So maybe we can kick this conversation off this afternoon and get very quick opening comments in terms of how you see India moving to India 4.0 and how technology plays a role in that. Maybe I could start with you, Bernard.
India 4.0 means there is an India 3.0. And there will be an India 5.0, I suspect. I think that the way I see it is India is highly diversified with incredible diversity of knowledge, know-how, and experiences. And for us at Dassault System, we think we can help India leverage the digital world to do things, to design things, and to produce things right first time with the right quality. And the beauty of the digital world from that standpoint is that you can evaluate things before you spend money, do things. So there is a great opportunity, and we have already, I think, companies in India who are, in my mind, and of course we have observers from around the world here around the table, who are already almost there. Prestigious groups who are almost there, or even mid-sized companies who are used to work with other companies around the globe as provider. So I think the challenge is more to scale from education, implementation in the manufacturing sectors at large. And I think India can be a very powerful powerhouse to create the products the people need for tomorrow, not only the product of yesterday, but the product of tomorrow.
Sure. Reggie?
One of the key challenges is without electricity, nothing works. And bringing different India